Only one who devotes himself to a cause with his whole strength and soul can be a true master. For this reason, mastery demands all of a person. Albert Einstein. This video is about learning more, it's about being more, and it's about gaining mastery in any area of your life, any area you place your attention on. It has everything to do with mindset, as does 90% of success. However, there are absolutely some technical hacks that can be applied which can help you facilitate and gain mastery even faster. And I'm going to share a few of these tips with you here that will help you do so with Elite Marketing Pro or in any other subject or area of your life you should choose to master. Now, the first concept I want to share with you is how to retain 90% of what you learn. Now imagine you have a bucket, and every time you filled that bucket, 90% of the water leaked out instantly, leaving you with only 10% of the water you put in. Now I have a question. Would you get a new bucket? Of course you would. Now what if I told you that your brain was like a leaky bucket where 90% of what you learn is forgotten shortly after you put it in there? Well, it's true. In fact, way back in the 1960s, the NTL Institute in Bethel, Maine, did a study whereby they came up with something called the learning pyramid. And it looks like this. And as you can see, there are two primary types of teaching. There are passive teaching methods, and there are participatory teaching methods. And as it turns out, the least effective or efficient methods of learning are the passive teaching methods, starting with lecture, which results in a measly 5% retention. Next down is reading, which results in only a 10% retention rate. And then audio visual is next, where you'll typically retain about 20%. And lastly, in the passive methods is demonstration, whereby the teacher demonstrates how something is done, results in only about a 30% retention rate. Now, let's move on to the active or participatory methods. Okay, group discussions result in about a 50% retention rate. Actually doing the thing that you learned gets that retention rate up to 75%. And finally, teaching others how to do something that you've done results in a whopping 90% retention rate. Now, isn't it interesting how most of the methods of learning taught in our schools, for instance, at work, and in all areas of study involve mostly the passive methods of teaching and learning? Now, maybe you're wondering why I bring this up. Well, there are a few reasons. First, I designed this Ignition coaching program specifically to engage in the most efficient and effective methods of learning. This is not just a book where I go over concepts and you read it and then you magically absorb that knowledge. The training you have access to here is just an introduction to concepts that have taken me years and thousands of hours of study to truly absorb and implement. And it'll be the same for you. It'll be the same for everyone who embarks on this journey. And that's why I've given you not only videos, yet I've also included transcripts and audios for each of these videos. The most serious students, those are the most dedicated who want to get the most out of this course, out of this training, won't simply look at this coaching program as a one-time and done type of program. Those who truly want to absorb these concepts and integrate them and eventually master them are those who are going to go through this program multiple times and actually engage in this content in a participatory sense. Now, your results with this program will be directly proportionate to your level of engagement. I want to say this again. Your results with this program will absolutely be proportionate to your level of engagement. Now, to put this another way, you've been provided with a valuable training resource that has resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars in success. It's probably the only resource of its kind anywhere, at least that I've ever seen. You've also been given access to our private members-only mastermind. You've been asked not only to watch videos, but actually to answer questions directly related to the content of these videos. And you've also been asked to actually to take action. Now, when you take action, you will begin getting results. And when you participate as a member of our private mastermind and you attend our trainings and you engage in conversations, then you're participating in group discussions. And I've seen this over and over again. Our most active community members, those who take the most action and ask the most questions, are the ones who get the most results. And the majority of them eventually step up and become teachers. They actually answer more questions than they ask. Now, obviously, that's what makes the Ignition coaching program so powerful. And clearly those who engage the most are the ones who are going to get the most out of this mentorship program by actually becoming mentors themselves. In fact, that's how we find our coaches for this program. We invite those who've gotten results and who give back to the community to help others as coaches within this program. So obviously, if you want to get the same kind of results that they do, it requires the same kind of commitment, right? Now, I want to share a model with you that has been responsible for my own success, and I know it will help you with yours as well. The concept is this: learn, do, teach. Now, I believe I already mentioned my involvement previously with the martial arts. I've studied Aikido, I've studied Jiu-Jitsu, Aikijitsu, and Judo. And in each of these arts, they use the concept of learn, do, teach. Now, this is the way martial arts is taught and has been taught since martial arts came into being. And the master or teacher demonstrates a technique, exactly how it should be done, and the student then models what they do, and the teacher helps correct and improve the student's technique. Then they perform that technique several times until it becomes second nature. They become fairly proficient at it. Now, when the student is proficient enough at that technique, they may be called on to help junior students with improving their techniques. And the very act of teaching solidifies that technique into memory, which we refer to as muscle memory because it becomes almost automatic. Now, the technique can be performed without even thinking about it. It becomes an integrated part of who they are. It's a reflex. Now, I want to go over another related concept. It's called the 4 stages of competence. Stage 1 is unconscious incompetence. The individual in this stage does not understand or know how to do something and does not necessarily recognize they don't understand or know it. They may even deny that it's useful to them at all. Now, before learning can begin, the person must recognize their own incompetence and the value of the new skill prior to moving on to the next stage. Now, the length of time that they spend at this stage really depends on the strength or the motivation of their desire. And that's important. The most valuable quality, the most important factor in success with this business is desire and motivation to learn. Because without it, simply put, you're just not coachable. Your cup is full, like we explained in Module 2. The biggest factor by far that will determine the success for anyone in any business, in any type of venture whatsoever, is their coachability. So if you do find that your cup is full, or you're not feeling motivated enough, or you're not willing to make the kind of commitment to your success that's required, then you're missing one of these 2 things. Okay, first is your goals maybe aren't inspiring enough. And the second is your belief is possibly lacking. And if that's the case, there's really no need to continue with this module because your cup isn't empty. And I highly recommend going back to modules 2 through 4 again. That's how important this is. So assuming the desire to learn is there, then you move on to the next stage, and that's stage 2. It's called conscious incompetence. Now, at this point, the individual does not understand or know how to do something, yet he or she does recognize their lack of knowledge and believes in the value of learning a new skill. And this is where a lot of people progress into Module 3 and 4 in our program. And at this point, they actually roll up their sleeves and they start doing it. Like with martial arts, if it's a new skill, there's really no way the person will do it perfectly the first time. That's why it's called practice. And in fact, the making of mistakes can be an integral part of the learning process at this stage. Now, here's the major risk factor at this stage. It's fear of failure or perfectionism. Now, most people either don't get started or they quit when they make a mistake or don't do something perfectly the first time. Now, remember, stage 1, unconscious incompetence, the big risk factor was an unwillingness to learn. In stage 2, the big risk factor is in fear of failure or perfectionism. And aversion to change is really what it comes down to. Yes, to truly learn something, a skill that can change your life, requires the ability to act in spite of fear, to move forward in spite of not getting it perfect, and most importantly, to embrace change. And if you remember, it's 90% mindset and only 10% skill set that gets you to success. And it's fear and aversion to change that can hold people back here and keep them stuck. And if that's the case for you, then the first step is admitting that you're afraid or that your need for protection or perfection rather is keeping you stuck. Then ask yourself, if this is the case, are my goals and dreams bigger than my fears? And if they are, if so, then it's time to embrace imperfection and embrace change. And that's how progress is made. Now, as you progress through the learning pyramid by actually doing, you then move on to the third stage. And that's stage 3, conscious competence. Okay, at this point, the individual understands or knows how to do something. However, demonstrating the skill or knowledge requires focus, it requires concentration. It may be broken down into steps, and like in martial arts, we basically break things down into steps, and it's not very fluid. It's kind of 1, 2, 3, block, 4, step. And it takes a lot of heavy conscious involvement in executing that new skill. At this point, it's especially beneficial if you look at the learning pyramid we just covered to actually help junior students to perform this task, to help reinforce that concept and retain it. I know when I teach martial arts, I actually learn more when I teach it than sometimes when I'm actually a student and being taught by my instructor. Now, the major risk factor at this stage is simply not in continuing to practice or improve, and in so doing, eventually losing the skill or not being able to perform it as effectively as is required to move on to the fourth and final stage. And the fourth and final stage is where mastery occurs. And stage 4 is unconscious competence. At this level, the individual has had so much practice with a skill that it becomes second nature and can be performed easily. If you've ever driven home from work or something and you've gotten lost in your thought during that commute, that you didn't remember how you ended up in the driveway, well, congratulations, you're unconsciously competent at driving. Now, I want to bring this back full circle to the Ignition Coaching Program and how to make all of your dreams come true, how to accomplish all of your goals that you came up with in Module 4, how to gain mastery. With the learning pyramid in mind and knowing as you do the 4 stages of confidence, make the commitment to continuing to engage in the learn, do, teach method so you can achieve mastery of these concepts and internalize them. Speaking of mastery, I'd like to share 5 tips to help you gain mastery over these concepts and become a marketing pro. Okay. Number 1 is repetition is the path to mastery. Hardwiring your mind for success takes time. It takes repetition. The goal is to internalize and integrate these concepts into your DNA and make them yours, make them your own. This is the difference between theoretical concepts and integrated knowledge. Remember, with repetition comes conviction, which is why I recommend going through the Ignition modules multiple times. Watch and or listen to them over and over again. Download the audio versions of these lessons. Listen to them on your phone or in your car or on the way to work or while you work out. In the words of Norman Vincent Peale, repetition of the same thought or physical action develops into a habit, which repeated frequently enough becomes an automatic reflex. Okay, so that's number 1. The second one is be coachable. How coachable are you? If you aren't learning and growing, you're dying. Are you meeting new concepts with resistance? Maybe your cup is full. Are you having difficulty with motivation? Then you're probably missing either the desire or the belief in yourself. Can't seem to get unstuck and into action? Maybe you're afraid of failure or you're striving for perfection when good enough will do. Remember, your coachability relates directly to your level of desire and your willingness to accept change in your life. Okay, 3 is engage in community. Okay, post your questions, share your successes, and help others with their questions. Your mastermind group is your most valuable resource. You've heard it said before, if you want more success, surround yourself with successful people. You now have that ability by being a part of this amazing community that we have. So take full advantage of that opportunity and prepare to change your life. Number 4, attend events. We have several online events every month. Join as many of them as possible. Always continue learning, because if you're not learning and growing, right, you're dying. So as far as our offline events go, well, these are where the real life-changing things happen. This is where massive breakthroughs occur and success stories result from. So there's nothing quite like actually physically being around successful leaders, rubbing elbows with top earners, 6- and 7-figure earners. As an Elite Marketing Pro VIP member, you get 2 free tickets to our next event. Do everything you can to be there. It can absolutely change your life, as it has for dozens of our most successful students. Now, many of those students are invited to come and actually present and teach their knowledge from stage. And if you ask any of them what their turning point was for them, 9 out of 10 times, they will tell you it was attending our event and actually meeting successful people that really shifted their belief, that increased their confidence. And it's no accident that our most successful speakers were once attendees at our events in previous years. In fact, they sat in the same seats that many of you will sit in. So that was number 4, is attend events. Number 5 is invest in mentorship. You never want to be the wealthiest, smartest guy in the room all the time. Sure, it's great to teach. It's the final aspect of the learn, do, teach model I went over moments ago. However, if you want to gain massive growth, if you want to gain success in the form of wealth and freedom, then you should also be a part of a mastermind group of top-level performers. You'll only bust through your mental barriers, blocks, and beliefs and expand your capacity to earn more money if you're one of the littlest guys in the room. You want to constantly push yourself. You should feel a little, maybe even a lot, intimidated by being around those you want to learn from. So what about the price? What about the price of some of these mastermind groups? Well, the price should make you gulp. It should make you gulp hard. And if the cost doesn't make you a little bit uncomfortable, you won't take it as seriously as you should. Never, ever, ever, ever pinch pennies when it comes to who you associate with, who you listen to, or who you are accountable to. Get the absolute best that you can barely afford. That's what I always say. And if there's one thing I've learned in all of my years of running successful businesses, it's this: the right mastermind group pays dividends. It pays for itself in multiples, 5 times, 10 times, even 100 times of what you invest. Now, I've said it many, many times, but I'll say it again. I'm constantly investing in coaching and mentorship in myself. I'd never consider not being in a good mastermind group. I'm usually in at least 2. And the shortcut to success, the shortcut to achieving massive results in less time, is to get into a powerful mastermind and get mentorship from top people who've achieved the results you want to achieve. This is the path to mastery. You absolutely will have that chance with us at a later time when you're ready for it. And if you think you're ready for it now, you're already getting results, or you want to fast track your success and get results even faster, well, maybe you're ready for it now. And if that's the case, definitely let your coach know, and he or she will be happy to share additional options for getting more access and getting more mentorship from us.